The regular season is almost over. Just 2 more Big 12 series left in the history of Oklahoma softball. In 2 weekends, Oklahoma State, a massive tilt at Love's Field. But before that, the last road trip of the year, Oklahoma heads to Orlando to take on UCF. What did Patty Gasso have to say? What did Lena Torres have to say? All that and more coming up here on the OU Softball Show. Welcome back in, everybody. Ryan Chapman here for the OU Softball Show, and it's a big, big week for the Sooners. They've hit that landmark, right? Obviously, everyone knows if Oklahoma is hosting Super Regionals and is the number 2 team in the country, it would take quite a fall off a cliff for the Sooners not to finish as a top 8 seed, regardless of what happens in Bedlam and at the Big 12 tournament. Oklahoma will not have to leave the state, not have to leave the 405, really, frankly, if the Sooners want to close out their season, win a national championship, all that fun stuff. Big 12 tournament, obviously at Hall of Fame at Oklahoma City. Regionals and Super Regionals would be in Norman, then back up for the Women's College World Series, make it that far, all that stuff. So first, got to have this trip out to Orlando. And this week's availability, talk with Patty Gasso, talk with Lena Torres and Avery Hodge. It was kind of a little bit of a continuation on the conversation we had on Sunday. So rewind, Oklahoma wins all 3 games against Houston, run rule fashion on Friday and Saturday, and then on Sunday it was a 5-0. Houston never even really was competitive for a single at-bat in this series. It never felt like Oklahoma was ever under the gun or anything like that, but it was another day where the Sooners get on base a ton and leave a bunch of those runners on base. Oklahoma had a long conversation after that game. Patty Gasso, the Sooners usually pretty quick into post-game stuff. Took them a good 35, 40 minutes to have their conversation, all that. And on Sunday, Patty Gasso just talked about it. It was a situation of trying to get everything moving in the right direction. What does that look like? And so circling back, I wrote a huge Sunday weekend wrap-up post on Monday. About 1,200 words detailing everything Patty Gasso said. So be sure you head over si.com/college/Oklahoma, the place to find that weekend wrap. I'm sure I'll tweet it out here as well pretty soon, _Ryan Chapman. But kind of circling back with Patty Gasso on Tuesday, she talked about a team firing on all cylinders, peaking. What are the tenets of a team like that? What's Oklahoma trying to get to? Here's what Patty Gasso had to say about that.
I think a lot of it is energy, like what's your body feeling like, connection as a team, what that looks like. Are you really interested in what everyone else is doing? Are you all in? Are you a franchise guy? Are you a team guy or woman? Those are the things that we're looking for.
So that's what Patty Gasso's looking for. It's kind of an interesting conversation of you got 10 seniors, a bunch of those seniors that maybe they haven't spent all 4 years at Oklahoma, but have been there, done that, got the t-shirt and the ring to show for it at least once at Oklahoma. On one hand, they know what that feels like. On the other, it is something you have to wonder. Is this team bored? Is this going through the motion? Like, what is the disconnect between getting on base? It was a ton against BYU. Same thing against Houston. They were better in the midweek against Tulsa at bringing those runners around, not as many stranded. And then the runners left on base kind of popped up again. So also asked Lena Torres, like, what does that look like to be firing on all cylinders, to be focused so that you're not wasting those opportunities? And for her, it has a lot to do with almost not worrying about everybody else, but just worrying about whatever teammate is in the batter's box in that moment, whatever pitcher's in the circle. If you can lose yourself in that, feels like Oklahoma will find their way back to an easy, free-flowing, pressure-free brand of softball.
I think it's chemistry all the way. I think it's who has each other's back at the end of the day. The harder the game gets, that's when the pressure and people start to break, and it's going to be who can have your person next to you's back. And overall, just like, hey, if you don't get it done, I'm going to get it done for you. And I think passing the bat, just having a good mentality. And I think when we know that the end's near, you don't want to feel like you're putting everything together at one time. You want to build that relationship in the fall and stuff like that. So I feel like we're going to be in a good spot. I think I know people are, freaking out because of like whatever losses we had. I think the chemistry always gets better by the time with stuff like that, for sure.
It will be a special series this weekend for the Sooners as they work toward that direction. Feel like the pitching staff moving in the right way. Kelly Maxwell has been really great since conference play started. Kirsten Delia, reigning Big 12 Pitcher of the Week. She had the no-no on Tuesday, 6 innings against Tulsa, and then she matched her career-high 10 strikeouts on Sunday against Houston. So all of that looks like it's going in the right spot. The defense has played really well. It's just the batting. So only time will tell. They can talk about the processes and sticking with the processes and all that stuff all you want. Until we see it and they're cashing on those situations, I don't know what else can be said. So Patty Gasso looking forward to this weekend ahead. Oklahoma's first trip out to Orlando to take on UCF. It was a team that the Sooners hosted in Super Regional action a couple years ago, but it's also a big series. Traditionally, as you get toward the end of the year here, you start to hear about Oklahoma's seniors, as everyone does across the country. On senior day, it's very much a decorating the locker room. The rest of the team does in honor of the seniors, things like that. But this last road trip, part of what Patty Gasso hopes will relieve some of the pressure, some of the stress, is a focus on those seniors, and OU's got 10 of them.
On road trips, they get to spend some time together, and when you're away from softball, then you get to really, seems like they have a little more fun. This is going to be a celebration of our seniors, and we have a lot of them, so we're going to do some things on the road that I think they're going to enjoy and maybe lighten up that, the stress factor a bit.
That should be a good lift for Oklahoma, a good last opportunity to bring that team together as they embark on what is essentially the unofficial start of the postseason next weekend with Bedlam coming. There's also Big 12 considerations. The Sooners have a 1-game lead over Texas. Texas has Iowa State and Texas Tech left, home against Iowa State, headed to Lubbock, I believe. Shouldn't think that there's too much concern there. Oklahoma's got a 2-game lead over Oklahoma State. The Cowgirls got Kansas, and then obviously Bedlam. So everything to play for, everything to still be decided. Oklahoma controls their own destiny, but they've got to take care of business first. Here's what Patty Gasso said is ahead with this series in Orlando.
This weekend is tough. It's tough. UCF is a very good team. They've got very good pitching. Their numbers are very like any other team in the Big 12, like some of the top 4 teams. They have a good offense. They've got a good running game. They've got good defense, and they have a lot of pitchers that can do a lot of different things. So this is going to be a huge challenge for the Sooners, and I'm trusting we're going to be ready for it.
Oklahoma, UCF, 3 games this weekend. As always, all those game recaps will be up there on the website, si.com/college/Oklahoma. An easier, more digestible, easier to remember URL is coming at some point. But for now, si.com/college/Oklahoma. All 3 of that this weekend. Be sure you're circling back John Hoover Media on YouTube. That's where all of the Bedlam hijinks will be as far as next week's availabilities, next week's post-game press conferences. Every word said by Oklahoma will be up there. John Hoover Media on YouTube. We'll continue to have all the great softball content as we ramp up here into postseason. Around these parts, Oklahoma State done with their road trips. Don't have to leave the state the rest of the way. Sooners, one more trip to the Sunshine State, and they're locked into the state of Oklahoma. The rest is the way as well. It's that time. And as always, be sure you're following us along across the entire site. John Hoover, Randall Sweet, Bryce McKinnis, Ross Lovelace, everything going on as well as myself. We will have full-throated, full-bore, wall-to-wall coverage of Oklahoma's postseason run here. Again, si.com/college/Oklahoma. But for now, for everybody at the site, I'm Ryan Chapman. We'll talk to you guys next.